Let's get right into it. Number 6. The invisible perfectionist. You were that kid who never made a mess, never threw tantrums, and somehow learned that being seen meant being in trouble. While your friends were testing boundaries and figuring out their personalities, you mastered the art of disappearing. Maybe your parents were dealing with major stress, or perhaps you had a sibling who demanded all the attention through chaos. Either way, you figured out that safety meant shrinking yourself down to nothing. The adults praised you constantly. They called you mature, responsible, the easy one. But what they were really celebrating was your ability to erase your own needs for their convenience. You became a ghost child, floating through life without making waves. Now, you're an adult who crumbs and read everyone else's emotions like a book, but has no clue what you actually want. You excel at anticipating what others need, but freeze completely when someone asks what restaurant you prefer. That invisible kid is still running your life, convinced that taking up space will make everyone abandon you. You've spent decades perfecting the skill of existing without actually living. Number 5. The tiny therapist syndrome. Picture this. You're 8 years old, sitting between your fighting parents, trying to translate what each one really means to the other. You became the family's emotional translator before you even understood your own feelings. Maybe your mom would cry to you about adult problems, or your dad expected you to fix everyone's mood when he came home stressed. You learned that love meant solving other people's emotional puzzles. Your childhood got hijacked by responsibilities that should never have been yours. Research shows this pattern creates adults who feel responsible for everyone else's happiness, while completely neglecting their own emotional needs. You think you're being caring, but you're actually running on a program installed when you were too young to know better. Your nervous system learned that other people's comfort equals your survival. When others are upset, your body goes into crisis mode, even when their problems have nothing to do with you. You've become an emotional firefighter, rushing toward every sign of distress, convinced that fixing others will somehow fix the emptiness inside yourself. Number 4. The crisis magnet. Were you the kid who grew up where chaos was just Tuesday? Maybe there was addiction in the house, financial disasters, or parents who couldn't regulate their own emotions. You learned to surf emotional tsunamis before other kids learned to tie their shoes. Every family emergency became your responsibility to solve. The adrenaline rush of fixing disasters became your drug of choice. You felt important when things were falling apart because that's when everyone needed you most. But here's the twisted part. When life gets peaceful, you feel anxious and useless. Your brain learned that chaos equals purpose, so you unconsciously create problems just to feel valuable again. You choose dramatic partners, chaotic jobs, and impossible projects because your nervous system only knows how to function in crisis mode. Normal, healthy relationships feel boring and wrong. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop because in your childhood, it always did. That little kid who learned the world was dangerous is still running your adult nervous system, scanning for threats that exist only in your past. Number 3. The gold star addict. Remember being the kid who had perfect handwriting, turned in assignments early, and felt physically sick getting anything less than an A. You optimized your entire personality around external validation. While other kids were learning that mistakes were just part of learning, you were training yourself to need constant approval to feel worthy. You became addicted to being the smart one, the good one, the one who never caused problems. But here's what nobody told you. The real world doesn't hand out gold stars for everything. Most meaningful work involves failing repeatedly until you figure it out. Your brain got wired to avoid anything you can't guarantee you'll excel at immediately. You'd rather look smart than risk looking foolish by trying something difficult. This shows up as analysis paralysis, where you overthink every decision until the opportunity passes. You procrastinate on important projects because starting means risking imperfection. That little kid who needed teacher approval is still running your career decisions. keeping you trapped in safe choices that slowly suffocate your potential. Number 2. The baby philosopher. You were the kid who asked why the sky was blue and then wasn't satisfied with simple answers. Adults called you wise beyond your years, but what they were really seeing was a child forced to make sense of things no kid should have to understand. Maybe your family was dealing with serious problems, and your brain decided the solution was to think your way out of emotional chaos. You became a tiny philosopher, analyzing everything instead of just being a kid. Your brain developed abstract thinking before your emotional skills caught up. You learned to intellectualize feelings instead of actually feeling them. Now you're an adult who can explain exactly why someone hurt you, including their psychological motivations and childhood influences. But you struggle to simply say, "I feel sad." You think you're being wise and analytical, but you're actually running from your own heart. People find you fascinating but emotionally unavailable because you've turned your feelings into research projects. That brilliant little kid is still protecting you from pain by thinking instead of feeling. Number 1. The resource guardian. You were the kid who hoarded Halloween candy, kept toys in perfect condition instead of playing with them, and felt physically sick when someone borrowed your favorite pencil. Your brain learned early that resources were scarce and unpredictable. Maybe things disappeared from your life without warning, or maybe you just sensed that security could vanish at any moment. You developed what researchers call loss prevention strategies. Your nervous system decided that holding on to everything was the only way to stay safe. This shows up in bizarre ways as an adult. You have 17 phone chargers because losing power terrifies you. You can't throw away clothes you haven't worn in years, because what if you need them someday? You stay in relationships and jobs long after they've stopped working because letting go feels impossible. You feel stingy with opportunities, affection, even happiness. When someone else succeeds, part of you feels like they took something that belonged to you. You've turned life into a zero-sum game where everyone else's gain feels like your loss. That little kid who learned the world was unpredictable is still guarding your adult life like a dragon protecting treasure, convinced that sharing means losing everything. The truth is, these childhood survival strategies made perfect sense when you were small and powerless. Your brain did exactly what it needed to do to keep you safe. But now, you're an adult with choices your child self never had. Recognition is the first step toward freedom. When you catch these old patterns running your life, you can pause and ask yourself, is this my adult wisdom speaking? Or is this my scared inner child trying to protect me from dangers that no longer exist? You have the power to reprogram these patterns, but it starts with seeing them clearly first. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.